Hey, good morning, all. How's things going? Um, there's been a lot of stuff happening the past. I was gone, and a lot of things have happened, and there's a lot of things I've been wanting to talk about. And yeah, I know I spent a day. I mean, we got off track quite a bit, but anywho, first of all, Ramen. She's supposedly having her surgery today. Everybody, if you pray, please pray according to your own beliefs. Otherwise, thoughts, wishes, whatever. Oh, that was interesting, Paul. The I spent over an hour on the phone with my bank, and because they were having to research because everything that was being sent to me had my bank's uh, header on it. And the bank sat there and said, "Yeah, we had absolutely nothing to do with this." They had to do all their own research. It was funny. So they bank sent out a notification to people, all their people, like they do, and said, "Watch out for this scam. They're not us." So yeah, I mean, when you get stuff in that purports to be from your bank, and that your life insurance policy has expired, the policy you took out specifically that if something happens to me, my house is paid off, and we still owe over $50,000 on the home. I don't want to saddle my wife with that kind of debt. I mean, I've been paying on this house for over 7 years. I've been paying on that insurance policy for over 7 years. I want that stuff taken care of. So, yeah, I want her to be able to continue to live and live comfortably after if something happens to me. But it is what it is sometimes, and that was a bit on the scary side. Um, when you start seeing things with the header from saying it's from your bank, and it actually isn't. So you do what you do and hope for the best. Okay, let's see here. Where do I want to start? There's a couple of things here I want to start with. Which one's this? Let's start with Crockett. Now, as always, I usually start off with, I show the entire speech that they give, not just an edited version of it. So let's let her do her bit of rambling from the floor the other day. Unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit on the long side, but hey, this is what she had to say.
This is a distraction to take away from the fact that the Guardians of Pedophiles is literally trying to protect pedophiles. The president is a convicted felon and an accused sex offender. Stacey Plaskett hasn't been accused of either. So what are we actually here talking about? Trump and Epstein were.
Remember, Plaskett was the one taking text messages back and forth from Jeffrey Epstein during congressional hearings.
besties. We've all seen the pictures of them. We saw the birthday book. So
the pictures of Epstein and Trump together, decades old, before he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago and refused to associate with him anymore.
why are y'all more interested in talking about Stacey Plaskett than Trump's relationship with the man? When did y'all become so moral? Because I can remember when y'all wouldn't sign the discharge petition. All of a sudden, everybody wanted to vote for this, but you wouldn't sign the discharge petition. Until we decide that we are going to go after the actual rapists and pedophiles, miss me with your moral high ground. Folks who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly.
Okay, let's listen to what she just said very specifically again.
Took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein.
Took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, that's what she, she's being very careful here to couch her words. When you hear this, you're automatically going to think that she's talking about the Jeffrey Epstein. But
as I had my team dig in very quickly, Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio. I just want to be clear. If this is the standard that we're going to make, just know we're going to expose it all. And just know that the FEC filings, they are available for everybody to review. This is absolutely ridiculous. You decide that you want to punish a sitting member of Congress because you are concerned about her text messages. Well, maybe you should be more concerned about those sex tapes that we still haven't gotten access to. Maybe you should be more concerned with the fact that the president, his name is mentioned in the files way more than Stacey Plaskett's name. Listen, I'm not saying that anything is right or wrong, but listen, if you're trying to figure out what's going on with somebody that's a criminal, then you maybe need to talk to their associates. That's exactly why maybe she was getting text messages. I'm not saying she was or wasn't, but considering the fact that they were talking to another associate of the president's and maybe she needed intel, you'd have to go talk to somebody that maybe knows what he's up to.
Time has expired.
There's a whole lot of accusations thrown there.
I dare you to let me build you
What
a
the-
completely free e-commerce store.
Okay. I guess pausing the video wasn't enough. Yeah, so she threw out some, very couched wording accusations from a person named Jeffrey Epstein. We don't know what she was talking about. Yeah, we do know what she was doing because they read some of her text messages. She was getting questions to ask directly from Jeffrey Epstein. There was but her accusations were there. But CNN, so there was some flyback on this. And I'm going to be honest, I'm surprised this is CNN.
In there, he's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor, doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people?
I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein, just so that people understand.
between the two of them to ask about Rona Graff, Trump's longtime assistant. You were defending her today or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor, doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign.
You hear her laugh right there? You hear her chuckle? Oh, the wrong man. Somebody who donated to the Republicans got accused of being a pederast. I accused a man of being a pederast simply because he had the same name as one and donated. We didn't look to see who it actually was.
He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor, doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record?
That woman's absolutely disgusting.
On the people.
I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein, just so that people understand when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided.
But your profession is, where you live is donated, is there. That information is there.
Decided to spring this on us in real time. I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein. So at least I wasn't trying to mislead people.
You lying witch. You lying witch. Your whole thing was couched. And you using the excuse. Well, we just quickly Googled this. Why don't you go to the FEC donation records and look it up that way? Why didn't you do that? No, you've got to, Jeffrey Epstein. Well, we just Googled it real quick. We didn't do, if that was any other American saying that from anywhere except on the floor of the House of Representatives, you would be legally liable for slander. But being as you're an elected official, saying it from the floor of the House of Representatives, you can get away scot-free with that. And that is absolutely disgusting.
Now, have I dug in to find out who this doctor is? I have not. So I will trust and take what he says is that it wasn't that Jeffrey Epstein, but I was not attempting to mislead anybody. I literally had maybe 20 minutes before I had to do that debate.
Yeah, but
I only had, that's no excuse. If you did not have time to do the proper research before going to the floor and falsely accusing someone of crimes that heinous, then you don't do it. You don't do it. You don't say those words. But you're out there trying to, Let me see how I can score points against Republicans. Because a Democrat got caught texting during congressional hearings with the Jeffrey Epstein. Let me try to use that brush and tar some Republicans with it. Let me grab that Epstein brush and try to tar some Republicans with it. That's the story here that's going on.
People might see that and say, well, you're trying to make it sound like he took money from
I did not
a
know.
registered sex offender.
No, but I literally did not know.
Well, if you didn't know, why didn't you say, I don't know if this is the same Jeffrey Epstein? We just know it was a Jeffrey Epstein. You didn't say that. You left it out there with the impression to the world that it was the Jeffrey Epstein.
When you search FEC files, and that's what I had my team to do, I texted them and I said, listen, we're going up. They are saying that she took donations.
Right, but someone might say, well, your team should have done the homework to make sure it wasn't the convicted sex trafficker.
Within 20 minutes, you could not find that out, not from just doing a quick search on FEC.
Oh, yes, you can. Yes, you can. I've done it.
So number one, I made sure that I was clear that it was a Jeffrey Epstein, but I never said that it was specifically that Jeffrey Epstein because I knew that we would need more time to really dig in.
Well, Stacey Plaskett was texting the Jeffrey Epstein that we're all talking about. You voted against the censure for her to remove her from her committees. You know, we pressed the minority leader Hakeem Jeffries on this last night. Maybe you don't think she should be removed from her committees, but why do so many Democrats seem unwilling to say it's inappropriate to be texting with a registered sex offender about what you're going to ask a witness at a congressional hearing?
So I'm not going to necessarily say that that's the case. Now, this is somebody that was a former prosecutor. Now, I haven't sat down and talked about all the specifics of why Stacey was doing what she was doing. I know that when she got up and she spoke, she talked about the fact that this is one of her constituents. At the end of the day, what I know of prosecutors is that they are typically talking to co-defendants. They are typically talking to the people.
Now she's trying to paint. No. Let's listen to the rest of her excuse here.
That have the best information. And what you had was you had the former attorney for the president that was sitting there. And honestly, we knew, or she knew, or at least Jeffrey Epstein presented that he was very cozy with the president. He had more information, registered sex offender or not. The bigger question is, why is it that the president was so cozy with the registered sex offender even after he ultimately ended up with some of his convictions? And seemingly, he had absolutely been on the plane with him. We know about the birthday card. The bigger question is, why is the president of the United States not the one that is in the hot seat for his relationship, instead of us saying, oh, you know what, we're going to take her off of her committee because he decided to text her. Stacey didn't initiate that chain. Jeffrey initiated.
How did Jeffrey have her personal phone number in order to text her? Huh? How did that happen? And I'm sorry, if I had somebody that I had known at one time have my personal cell phone number and they were a convicted pedophile, they were convicted of selling young children, young people to adults for sex, I would have that number blocked to where they couldn't contact me. So why does this woman still have, why did Epstein have her number and why wasn't he blocked?
Initiated that chain and she took the information. Just like if somebody texts me.
Yeah, but she was responding and saying, you know, what are you talking about? Quick, I'm up next. And then her questions were about Rona. But do you think that was inappropriate? I mean, would you text with someone who is a registered sex offender about what you should ask?
I honestly know that he had never been convicted of any federal crimes at that time.
But he had been in jail already.
He had been
got
in
a
jail.
plea deal.
And my deal is this. The Republicans are constantly texting with a 34-count convicted felon. So if it's okay for them to text him at any point in time, then I'm not going to say that that's right or wrong, especially to the extent that you're talking about kicking someone off their committee. Were they sexting? Was it a matter of her being involved in the pedophilia? No, it was nothing like that. She was trying to understand. Let's say Jeffrey Epstein said, you know what? I have these pictures, these salacious pictures, because I know that the president got down and did these things. Do you think that it would be inappropriate for her to ask about those things if he said he had personal knowledge?
I think
it's
the
important.
context matters, but obviously it seemed like he was helping her. But I do want to ask you before you go tonight, because in your home state, we've talked about redistricting there.
Yeah.
The federal judge saying that they have to use that 2021 map yesterday. I mean, this is what truly launched a redistricting arms race, basically, in this nation.
Okay. There, I got that whole thing out there. Once again, other people, I could have shortened that down. All right. But then there'd been, I don't like to shorten these videos down, these interviews down, because the whole context matters. Like we saw at the BBC commercial, the BBC News thing, where they cut out 55 minutes of Trump's January 6th speech to make it sound like he, was telling people to do things that he didn't tell them to do. But they made an edit here, they made an edit there, pushed the edits together, and oh my God, well, right there, Trump told him to go and take over the Congress, told him to go down and take over the Capitol building. It's right there. See, right there, Trump said it. No, he didn't say it. Because they cut out 55 minutes worth of speech. And I'm even going to go back to Newt Gingrich. Yes, when Newt Gingrich was running for office, and they asked him about Medicare. And even way back then, they were talking about improving, coming out with a better system than Medicare. And Newt had made a statement, can't quote it from memory because, this is how my brain's working right now. He said, when we get a better system out there, Medicare will wither on the vine. A better system, people are going to leave Medicare and go to the better system. Well, the media cut out everything he said before and after and just left, we want, the Medicare is going to wither on the vine. Oh my God, Newt and the Republicans are going to take away our Medicare. So this is nothing new. And because of that, that's why I do what I do. I let that whole video play. Yeah, I interrupted it because, one, if I interrupt it and I add in stuff, I can't get the chances of me getting a strike are less. But two, I had something I wanted to say about what she was saying. Now, the November, oh man, I'm going to kick myself in the butt here. November 16th, Meet the Press, NBC Meet the Press. Let me see, I then screwed myself up. I had this thing. I got lucky and I found it. I tried to find the video itself and could not find the video itself. All right. But Meet the Press played this video. And this is a transcript from the Meet the Press website. All right. Kristen Walker, she's talking to Tim Kaine. Well, Senator, as you know, you and the other Democrats did vote to reopen the government, are taking some heat from your Democratic colleagues, including Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Here's how she described the lessons that she thinks Republicans learn from all. Concerned is the lesson they're learning is that Democrats are weak, and the next time you just need to hurt working people and working Americans more to get them to fold. And I don't want them to learn that lesson. You need to hurt working people and working Americans more to get them, Republicans, to fold. This isn't a Democrat. This isn't AOC sitting there saying, yeah, we need to look out for the American people. This isn't them saying, yeah, we need to make certain that what we do for the benefit of the American people, that we don't cause them more pain and anguish than necessary. And remember, this CR that got signed, it's only good until the end of January. It's 90 days. Then we're going to be right back here again. And AOC, who is the presumptive lead of the Democratic Party now, I mean, Chuck Schumer's jumping to her demands, is standing there. She's walking down the aisle, the hallway of Congress here by the looks of it, saying that the next time, end of January, in January, we need to hurt working people and working Americans more. Now, besides the fact, she's talking about hurting work. Why is she saying working people and working Americans? Why? I mean, who could working people be that aren't working Americans? Could she be talking about the illegals that are in the country? That's my best guess. Well, we don't want her, then, she doesn't say working Americans and working people. She's more concerned, working people and Americans. That is amazing what there is to unpack here from this simple statement that she said. Okay? This simple, what is it? It's one sentence, it's two sentences. It's two sentences. One, we're afraid the Democrats are weak. We've shown that we're weak. Two, we've got to hurt working people and working Americans. Not just we got to hurt working Americans. And then we have to hurt working Americans. We have to actually cause the American populace, the average man and woman who doesn't earn, but on average, $70,000 a year versus her $170,000 a year. We've got to cause them pain. And remember, she still got paid through this entire shutdown, this 40-some day shutdown. She still got her paycheck every 2 weeks. On the 1st and 15th, she still got hers. Her staff didn't, but she did. So she's already saying, well, come January, if we don't get what we want, we're going to hurt the American people just to get what we want. What we want is so important. We're willing to cause pain to the average working American. We're willing to cause them pain. We're willing to cause pain to every government employee and our military members. I'll tell you right now, if I was still active duty, excuse me, if I was active duty or if I was relying on a federal government paycheck, which in a way we are, because the company my wife works for, you know, part of their revenue stream does come from the government. We're saving every dime we can save, knowing that the end of January, this stuff's going to hit the fan again by the end of January. And the company she works for has already said that they can't handle another shutdown like that. They don't have the money to pay employees for 40-some days again without getting without that government income coming in. And I mean, it's a fairly small, I mean, well, you know, they've got a couple hundred employees scattered across 6 or 7 different sites, I guess, but you know, their revenue stream isn't that great. And of course, they've got to put up with a lot of government requirements and such that other places that do the same thing don't. But AOC is sitting here saying, yeah, we Democrats, we need to cause a lot more pain. We need to cause a lot more agony to get what we want, to make sure that the illegals get their health care, to make sure the illegals continue to live the life of Riley here on the American taxpayer. So that's what she's saying. All right, let me jump to the next one. Okay, here we go. Oh, let me get this opened up in YouTube. Wait for the commercial to go away. Thank you. Okay. Now here is an ad put out by the Democratic Party yesterday. Okay. I'm going to do my best to keep my mouth shut.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
Who take risks each day
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath
To protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad.
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
In the Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
And who we are as Americans. Don't give up
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship. I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Every time I see that ad, every time I see that, my anger is outrageous. How dare these Democrats sit there and tell the military, the rank and file military, who have no control over what orders they follow or don't follow, because they follow the orders. You know, when the president gives an order, he isn't giving that order to airman, sergeant, corporal, seaman, Jim or Jenny Jones. He is giving that order to Pete Hegseth. He is giving that order to the generals at the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He isn't calling up that battleship. He isn't calling up that base squadron. He isn't calling up that platoon chief and giving direct orders to them. He doesn't do that. He gives the orders to Pete Hegseth and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He tells them what he wants them to do. The only people who could possibly get away, because when those orders are given down from the president to Pete Hegseth, to the people at the Department of War, then the orders flow downhill. From the 4 stars to the 3 stars to the 2 stars to the 1 stars to the colonels to the 06s to the 05s to the 04s to the 03s to the 01s to the E9s, E8s, E7s, E6s, E5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s. The orders run downhill. So by the time that order has reached that E6, that E5, E4, we're not getting it from President Trump. We're getting it from that 01, that 02, 03, 04, 05, 06. And we cannot disobey their orders. When that says we cannot obey an illegal order that I could obey when I was active duty would be to install something into an aircraft that I knew should not be in that aircraft. To install something incorrectly so it would cause problems. Now that was an illegal order. Illegal order for the Army or the Marines to line a bunch of people up and just shoot them. That's an illegal order that anybody of any rank can disobey. But when an order comes down to blow a Venezuelan drug boat out of the water, the final person who's got to say whether or not that order is followed is the ship's captain or the ship's executive officer. The guy, that seaman, that individual sitting there who actually pushes that damn button, he can't refuse to do that on his own accord. Because he is not following an illegal order. Because we don't know why those orders were given. Those orders were not, the reasons behind these orders are never given to that frontline grunt. The man out there toting that toolbox or digging that foxhole. The reasons for those orders are never given to us. We have to rely on our superiors, on the officers who have the big picture as to whether what they're going to order us to do is legal or not legal. With the exception, like I said, I get told to install something in an aircraft incorrectly that I know is going to cause damage or death. Now, that order I would disobey in a heartbeat. Have I disobeyed directives when I was in the Air Force? Yeah, there's a few times I did. I was told to do something and I knew damned well I couldn't do it that way. You got 30 minutes to get this jet flying. I can't do it in 30 minutes. What do you mean you can't do it in 30? I can't do it in 30 minutes. Well, go out and just swap a part. No, I'm not going to go out and swap a part. Because I don't know if the part I'm putting in is good or bad. I don't know if that part that I'm taking out is good or bad. I'm not going to go out and just swap a part. Especially not a part that you're telling me to change out when you don't have a clue about how the system works. So yeah, there was a few times I got my keister chewed on because I didn't do something that I was told to do. But that was something within my area that I could refuse to do and be right in refusing to do it. Now, did I suffer other repercussions for it? Yeah. Denied a few choice TDYs and a few other things because, that person was mad at me still and held a grudge. But that's okay. I didn't lose a stripe and I felt good about myself. I felt good about the product I turned out for the Air Force. Like the day I was ordered, this is my last 3 years, and I was Squadron Resource Advisor. And I was ordered to order beer taps for the officers' bar using government money. And I told him no. I told the lieutenant colonel no. And he goes, "Why not?" I said, "Because that is not mission essential. That comes out of your guys' pocket. Or if you want to wait until the end of the year and you want to try to justify it to the big colonel as to why 6 beer taps is needed for the officers' bar, then you can wait until September to do that. But if you want those beer taps right now, then I suggest you go over and tap into your beer fund and get the money out to go buy it." Which is what they did. My colonel heard about it and he come to me and told me that he was glad that I told the other colonel no, but that's beside the point. My boss was happy that I did what I did. The other colonel, and like I said, the other colonels were mad at me because I didn't, spend a couple $100 that they wanted me to spend. But again, there are things that lower enlisted troop guys, lower ranked people can refuse to do because they'd be following illegal order. But what they're, what they're talking about here, not following orders to go and protect federal property, not following orders to protect federal employees, not following orders to do what they're legally required to do, what the president can authorize them to do, because they may personally disagree with those orders. If you can't, and as was said to me, I was no Bill Clinton fan when he was president. In fact, I still have refused to put up my retirement paperwork because it's signed by Bill Clinton. Yes, I'm that petty. I've not hung up my retirement certificates because and discharge paperwork because it's signed by Bill Clinton. And if you, and that's, as I said before, Bill Clinton signed his for me when he made an entire military base evacuate and had all the security officers, all the security police on base turn in all their ammunition because he landed on base. No, he would not allow any military people to be on base outside. They had to be locked up in they had to be in their rooms or in their offices or in their buildings, whatever. They could not be out on the sidewalks to watch the motorcade go by. They could not see the commander-in-chief drive by on their base. That came from Bill Clinton's office. And that right there is when I was thoroughly my final bit of disgust for that man was. That was the final straw where I was thoroughly disgusted by that man. But anyway. But when the president sits there and gives an order that he needs you to do something, you do it. Or not when when the president gives an order, he's giving it, and it's going through the chain of command. And it's not up down to that E1, E2, E4, E5 to make the decision whether or not they're going to follow the orders. Not like what these people are saying. Now, I don't know how the CIA and the intelligence community works, but I imagine it's probably something similar. And the FBI. I imagine it's something similar. I'm just speaking from the military aspect because these were mostly military people, or at least people with a military background. Hey, morning, old guy. Now, Trump did make a mistake. He made a mistake and said that, sedition is punishable by death. And the Democrats come running out. The president, he's threatening to execute Democratic senators. And, they're saying that they were simply reminding troops they had the right to refuse illegal orders. They weren't telling the troops not to follow their orders. They were simply reminding the troops that they had the legal obligation to disobey illegal orders. Well, in that case, Trump was just reminding people that sedition, which turning the military or attempts to turn the military against the president is sedition, is punishable by many different forms of punishment, including the death penalty. So if those Democratic senators weren't trying to tell the National Guard and active duty people that, not to follow the orders that they don't agree with under this administration, if that's what they want, Trump can sit there and claim, well, I wasn't threatening you guys I wasn't threatening anybody. I didn't mention you by name, just like they didn't, the Democrats, well, we didn't specifically say not to follow President Trump's orders. We didn't specifically say that. We just know they're having a hard time right now. Well, why are they having a hard time right now? Because of Democrats. That's why military's having a hard time right now, because of Democrats. Not because of the orders that are filtering down from the White House through the chain of command. Generals have resigned in the past rather than follow orders they felt were illegal or wrong. They have. Generals have resigned in the past rather than follow orders. I haven't heard of any generals resigning here in the past 6 months. Have you? I don't recall any generals resigning over the past few months because they felt that ordering the National Guard to go in to protect federal buildings or federal employees was an illegal order. I simply don't recall that happening. So I'm just, the Democrats right now, from AOC coming out and saying we need to hurt working people and working Americans. I can't stress that she said that. And oh yeah, there's a lot. There were several people that quit, that resigned under COVID, refusing to get the shots. And see, and I find it funny that the Democrats all of a sudden, they're suddenly so for the Constitution, except for the Second Amendment, except for parts of the First Amendment, except parts of the Fourth Amendment, parts of the Fifth Amendment. They're parts of the 19th Amendment, parts of Article, protecting women in sports. There's all these things that all of a sudden the Democrats are fully 100% behind the Constitution, with some exceptions, some exceptions. Yeah, there's quite a few people that ended up getting out or being kicked out over COVID. And Trump's, under Trump, they're being told they can get back in with back pay and promotions. That'd be kind of cool. Hopefully people stayed in shape well enough to go back in, get back pay and promotion. But yeah, no, this is the stuff that gripes my drawers. It really is. And I'm not saying the Republicans are above hypocrisy. There's hypocrisy on both sides. It just seems like the worst examples of hypocrisy is always coming from the left. The worst examples of hypocrisy is usually coming from the left for some stupid ass reason. And I don't understand why they do pull this kind of stuff. I mean, and speaking of Democrats, come on. Thank you. This is from yesterday. Okay. No, this is not the thing I thought it was. Okay, never mind. Let's see. Okay. Wednesday afternoon. Yesterday was Thursday. Wednesday afternoon, House Democrat charged with stealing $5 million in FEMA funds and making illegal campaign contributions with them. Representative Sheila Cheerfulness McCormick, a Democrat Florida, was indicted Wednesday with the connection of stealing and laundering $5 million in federal relief funds and using the money for her congressional campaign. In the news release citing the indictment, the Justice Department said her and her brother worked on a staffing contract funded by FEMA for COVID vaccinations tied to their family health care company in 2021. The company is overpaid by $5 million. The Congresswoman and her brother were accused of conspiring to steal overpayment and route it through various accounts to conceal its origins, allegedly used the money for her own enrichment and to fund a significant portion of her congressional campaign. She's been reelected twice since. Now, granted, yeah, I mean, this is only, 2 days old? I've heard about it exactly 3 times in the past 2 days. Now, I will grant this. I was not feeling good last night, and I was in bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock my time. And when I got up this morning, I still wasn't certain that I was going to be streaming today, but I'm feeling a lot better, so here I am. But when I did my morning perusal of the news, I didn't see anything about this in the news this morning. And I'm going to go down the old whataboutery. "20-hour-old news article." That is the first thing that popped up when I did a search for it right now. A 20-hour-old news article. You'd think there'd be something a little bit newer than that. Think there'd be something a little bit newer than that out there. Where are the people, the investigative reporters out there digging into this? Yeah, you're right. We have been dealing with TDS forever. No, and some of it's been brought on by Trump himself. I mean, the other day he was joking about he thinks he's eligible for a third term. Nah, come on. No, you're not. No, you're not. And he really shouldn't have done the death penalty for sedition. He should have just asked if the Democrats were pushing sedition. Were those Democrats who put out that ad guilty of sedition? If he'd done that, then they're okay. But to say, just as a reminder, the punishment for sedition is death. And the no. He really didn't do himself any favors there. Sometimes, and I like the way, I mean, he's the troller in chief. I'm going to give him that. But sometimes he trolls just a little too hard. Oh, yeah, I know it's trolling. And JD, I tell you what, if JD runs and he gets elected, the social media is going to go through the roof. And given who the Democrats are pushing out now to run, I foresee JD running and winning. But that's who the Democrats are pushing out now. As we all know, this stuff can change at a moment's notice. So, and you never, that's why I don't take political bets, because anything can happen at any time. What used to be the October surprise has now turned into the August-September surprise because of early voting. So that's something I'd like to see go away. That is something I'd love to see go away. I'd love to see early voting go away. I'd love to see vote by mail go away, except for people who are military who aren't stationed in their home state of residence. Like until I moved to Florida, Ohio was always my state of residence. And people who are, in the hospital for procedures and stuff like that. But other than that, just to get a ballot and mail it back in, no. We saw too many shenanigans out of the past few years with the mail-in balloting. Shenanigans this year in California with the mail-in balloting, putting holes in the envelopes to where you could see who voted, how a person voted. Yeah, that's right. How many of those ballots that the vote went the wrong way got lost in the postal system. So, but I would, this woman from Florida, yeah. I hope she does jail time. Stealing $5 million, that's a few decades in prison. Stealing a few $1 million, and her company ought to be forever banned from ever having another government contract again. The state of Florida should be tearing up every contract they got with her company. In fact, that sounds like something I need to write to DeSantis about and to my local representative. That woman's companies should no longer be doing have government contracts. End of conversation. And all government contracts currently in force need to be audited. Every penny spent by the state government with her company should be audited. Yeah, sounds like I got some emails to write this afternoon. Okay. And that is, let's see here. What is next on my list of things here that I had pulled up? I don't care about her resigning to take over the governorship. Fifth person died at Disney World this week. That's and let's see, I think I don't have to worry about coyotes in my what's going on here? Oh. Oh, okay. Well, besides Susan Collins, it looks like a House representative from Maine, Republican, will not be running for re-election. So that's going to be interesting. Now, there was some. Where did that article go? There's an article I saw about the Navy and swastikas. Coast Guard and swastikas. The Coast Guard is reclassifying swastikas and nooses from hate symbols to potentially divisive. Whoa. That is interesting. I mean, nooses, what is the reason the Coast Guard is giving up on swastikas? Okay. Because that don't sound right. Going to be honest. Only 68 deaths of Disney since 71, most national alligator attack. Okay. Oh, they're reversing policy to call swastikas and nooses potentially. The Coast Guard has released a new firmer policy addressing the display of hate symbols like swastikas and nooses, just hours after it's publicly revealed it made plans to describe them as potentially divisive. Divisive or hate symbols and flags are prohibited. Okay. Declared before adding this category included a news, swastika, and any symbols or flags co-opted or adopted by hate-based groups. I wonder if that's going to include the pride flag. I hope so. This is not an update policy, but a new policy to combat misinformation and doubled down that the U.S. Coast Guard forbids these symbols. The late night change came on the same day that media outlets led by the Washington Post discovered the Coast Guard had written policy earlier this month that called these same symbols potentially divisive. The term was a shift from years-long policy first rolled out in 2019 that says symbols like swastikas and nooses were widely identified with oppression or hatred and called their display potentially hate incident. The latest policy that was rolled out Thursday night also unequivocally banned display of any divisive or hate symbols from all Coast Guard locations. Again, will that include pride flags? I find the pride flag quite hateful. The rule did not apply to private spaces outside of public viewing, such as family housing. Now, I agree with the swastika being a hate symbol, but nooses? I disagree with that all the time. I mean, one of the first knots I learned to tie as a Boy Scout was a noose. An older scout showed me how to tie a noose when I was in Boy Scouts. I'm still getting at least 10 more interested every day. Hey, Data. $3,500 cash and 2 shotguns. Cool. Okay, I burned through these a little bit faster than I expected to, and I don't have anything left. So I guess I can start cleaning the house because my sister's going to be showing up here on Tuesday afternoon, and the wife and I've got to do baseboard. Like this is my last stream for over a week because, like I said, I got my family coming in, and starting as soon as I get off stream here, I got baseboards to clean. I've got the stainless steel on the front of all the appliances in the kitchen to get cleaned. I'm going to mop the floors at least 3 more times before she gets here. I got a lot of housework to do. And come up with my shopping list for Thanksgiving Day, because we're going to do most of that shopping tomorrow. So, yeah, I know. Another short stream today, but I burned through some of that stuff a little bit faster than I thought I would. But everybody, y'all try to have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Y'all have a good Thanksgiving. Family, friends, whether you're hosting or being the guest, enjoy yourselves next week. Hopefully you're going to see some people you hadn't seen in a few months. And you have a good time and enjoy yourselves. Next Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, starts the official start of a Christmas season in the Shroom household. As soon as the wife sees Santa Claus coming down on the Macy Day Parade, that's when she hangs. That's when she puts up she has me put up the Christmas tree. And she hangs the first ornament. I'll put up the Christmas tree that morning, and the first ornament will go on the tree as soon as she sees Santa Claus. That's sort of the tradition there. But enjoy yourselves. I'll be back in the Thursday, a week after Thanksgiving. All right.